Jabari Smith Jr. is a unique and fascinating player. Coming into the 2022 NBA draft cycle, it looked like the candidates for the number 1 overall pick were Paolo Banchero and Chet Holmgren. However, on the back of consistently impressive early season performances, Auburn forward Jabari Smith has catapulted himself towards the top of most boards and is now considered a member of the class's Big Three. The intrigue around Jabari as a prospect is easy to understand. In a modern NBA where shooting and switchability reign supreme, Jabari already offers both at an elite level. Not a lot of players can shoot over 45% from 3-point range in college, and even less of them stand 6'10" like Jabari. And on top of this, he's proven to not only be a capable perimeter defender, but a downright great one. As if it couldn't get any better, he already weighs 220 pounds, with a strong frame that's clearly capable of defending in the post. To top it all off, he's one of the youngest players in the class and will complete his entire rookie season before the age of 20. These skills give Jabari a high floor, and he'll likely be a positive NBA player from day one. But if a team is going to use a top 3 pick on Jabari, they're going to need him to become more than a great role player, and it's Jabari's possible paths to stardom that I find most interesting about him as a prospect. As an athlete, Jabari's confusing to say the least. To call him exceptionally light on his feet still wouldn't be giving him enough credit, and that really pops when he's defending along the perimeter. He uses short, choppy steps to constantly readjust himself in a good position to stop a driver from getting past him, yet he also sticks to them tightly and pressures their handle. At the same time, it feels like he never overcommits himself to one side, and in an instant he's able to shift his hips to the other direction and wall off a driver's path to the basket. Despite this, I still have a hard time labeling Jabari's movement as truly fluid. While his lower body mobility is towards the 99th percentile, his upper body is on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. More specifically, his shoulders are extremely tight, and his upper body movements often look rigid or stiff. The two instances where this is most apparent come when navigating screens and driving to the basket. When trying to finish around rim protectors, he's extremely reliant on just running into them in hopes of drawing a foul. And Auburn switch most ball screens with Jabari, so he isn't asked to do it often, but the 2 possessions I've seen him try navigating screens, he literally bounces off the screeners. On the flip side, Jabari has both great hand-eye coordination and quick hand speed, which nicely synergizes with his tendency to stick tight to his opponent defensively, and it leads to him racking up a lot of steals. In terms of explosiveness, Jabari isn't going to blow anyone away with his speed, however he's certainly not slow and likely falls closer to average in that regard. What is a concern is his lack of vertical athleticism. In spite of his tall stature, he has just 7 dunks in 11 games, with the majority of them coming in transition. While vertical athleticism can be trained, I think Jabari's issues are more so related to his long load time as a jumper. Loading up the jump engages a wide variety of muscles simultaneously, and as a result is exceedingly hard to improve. So Jabari is likely to be a below the rim player, and his wingspan being just plus 2 inches doesn't help that. While he may have vertical challenges, he's still able to put up impressive defensive rebounding numbers, which mainly comes from a combination of ball tracking, positioning, strength, and height. Really quickly, only 2% of my viewers are subscribed. If you enjoy the content, please consider subscribing, it helps me out a lot. Most NBA players who earn the title of star do so with their production on the offensive end. A lot of these stars rely on physical advantages to manufacture points, but outside of his height, Jabari isn't going to be able to do that, so he'll need to be reliant on his skills. While most players either draw their value as an on-ball creator or an off-ball play finisher, I think Jabari can likely do a bit of both. As an on-ball creator, Jabari shows a lot of promising flashes, and I think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit which could lead to rapid growth. For his size, Jabari's a good ball handler, especially with his dominant right hand. He currently thrives on 1 or 2 dribble pull-ups from deep, and with a little bit of development, his handle could be good enough for him to get wherever he wants on the court. As for low-hanging fruit, he's always thinking forward, and this really hurt him in the game against Syracuse. The Orange are known for their zone defense, and Auburn deployed Jabari as their zone breaker. On multiple occasions, Jabari received the ball with ample space to take a step back and shoot an open jumper. Instead, he opted to take a step forward into the contesting defender before shooting, leading to some ugly misses. When Jabari is tasked with creating offensive advantages from a standstill, he'll usually size up his defender with a jab step, then try to drive or pull up, with mixed results. I think someone Jabari can look to imitate is Milwaukee Bucks forward Chris Middleton. Once Middleton gets a matchup he likes, he'll take a few steps back from the 3-point line. This makes it so Middleton can accelerate without the defender in his face bothering his handle, and helps to cover for his lack of burst. We already see Jabari do this when he grabs a rebound and pushes the break in transition. Because he has a head of steam, he's more frequently able to get to the paint where he does a great job of drawing fouls for easy points. Jabari's offensive footwork needs a lot of tuning up, and again, Middleton serves as a great example with a few simple moves Jabari can replicate. Middleton's first step will often be with his back foot. This subtle difference makes it so his feet are even after the first half step, and if the defender backs up early anticipating a drive, Chris can simply pull up for the easy bucket. Both players also have functional handles but are far from great. To help keep distance between the ball and the defender, Middleton will often turn his back to the basket, which is something Jabari rarely did in his first few games, but I've noticed him do a number of times in his most recent two. A big concern when Jabari gets the ball comes from his predetermined decision making. It's good to know what you want to do with the ball, however it's bad to not adjust to what the defense is giving you. And his offense is at times predictable, with him not entering an attacking stance until he's about to go, as well as locking his eyes on the player he intends to pass to. But Jabari's not only improved in this aspect during the season, he's also made some impressive reads as a passer on the fly and transition. As an off-ball threat, he's already an accomplished catch-and-shoot scorer, and in the Auburn system, he doesn't get a ton of opportunity to operate as an off-ball mover, but from the few occasions he has, I think there could be a lot of talent we aren't seeing there. As a shooter, Jabari doesn't use much of a dip and has a high release point, which enables him to get his shot off over shorter defenders consistently, and when shooting uncontested looks, Jabari is truly automatic. If Jabari's going to be an off-ball star, he'll need to reliably make tough shots. One thing to look for is how Jabari shoots off of dirty footwork. Jabari's starting to get better at leaping off bad footwork and organizing his shot base midair, but those shots aren't falling quite yet, and it's something he'll likely look to improve before the draft. Elite shot makers like Michael Porter Jr. aren't always great athletes by NBA standards, but when they need to, they're able to hit another gear as a leaper to rise over contesting arms of longer defenders. And I'm not confident that Jabari will be able to do this. In the game against Connecticut, Isaiah Whaley was able to get his hand in Jabari's face on multiple jumpers, and it caused Jabari a lot of trouble. Offensively, Jabari's solid, but there is one major red flag that I've noticed. On non-post-ups, he's currently shooting just 52% at the rim in the half-court, which is pretty low for a player of his size. But the concern is that he greatly prefers finishing with his left. This is a problem because Jabari is right-handed, and as such is a much better ball handler with his right. Jabari isn't super flexible in the lane and doesn't have the luxury of being able to switch the ball from his right to his left on all of his finishes. It's the same issue that OKC Thunder forward Darius Bazley struggles with, and it almost completely negates his touch around the basket. If this issue is for real, it could completely cripple Jabari's offensive upside, and it's something I'll be monitoring as the season progresses. On the defensive end, his impact is undeniable, and there's a solid chance he becomes one of, if not the best wing stopper in the league. Players constantly preach the importance of effort and consistency as keys for defensive success, and Jabari exemplifies both. His size and defensive footwork are impeccable, and the numbers back that up, with ISO scores currently 0 for 13 against Jabari, and pick and roll ball handlers going 0 for 8. In addition to this, Jabari's constantly looking to pilfer ball handlers, and his quick hands lead to high steal numbers. Like most young players, Jabari can struggle to stay engaged with his man when off ball, but it's yet another area where he's taken strides throughout the season. And it's worth noting that Jabari's a really good defensive communicator. While he's certainly strong enough to defend in the post, I don't really see Jabari offering much rim protection, and on the occasions where he does block shots, it's usually as a helper from the perimeter. However, given his ability as an on-ball defender in space, I don't think teams will mind his lackluster rim protecting. Jabari Smith Jr. is a unique prospect, and if he becomes an NBA star, he'll likely be a unique one too. He's already an elite shooter on the catch and is solid on pull-up threes. With improved footwork, he'll be able to easily create open shots for himself all over the court, and as a more experienced decision maker, he'll hopefully expand on the passing flashes he showcases in transition. On the defensive end, Jabari's mobility along the perimeter is truly special, and with his effort level and intensity, he's the type of player you stick on opposing stars on a nightly basis. While his finishing isn't likely to become a strength, stars with his size and skill often drive with the intent of drawing fouls, and Jabari would be no different to them. As for Jabari's best NBA fit, I think I'd go with the San Antonio Spurs. On the defensive end, his strength as an on-ball defender would complement Devin Vassell and DeJounte Murray's preference to operate off-ball, and offensively, his ability to knock down shots at a high volume would help unclog driving lanes for his teammates,